Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Loving the Game. I'm your host, Jock, and from the Yellow Cap Sports or Yellow Cap Sports these days. And today I'm joined by rugby agent from the Cap Sports. I hope I'm getting this right. His name is Dane Galley. Dane, I hope I said your name right. Welcome to the show, man. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, you got it right. Thanks very much. Thanks very much for having me.
Dane, if we can just start off by just telling, I just briefly mentioned there that you are a rugby agent. But if you can just give us a quick background, where you come from and what are you busy, what are you doing? Besides being in lockdown, what would you normally do if you weren't?
Actually, nothing's really changed for me. I'm sitting on my phone pretty much 23 hours a day, selling my soul, trying to find opportunities for clients. And yeah, it's just become a little bit more difficult because the economy is pretty much stuffed, and
Mm.
the rugby market is even worse. So yeah, just pretty much sitting on my phone all day and making my girlfriend fucking angry.
Anyway, Dane, yeah, there's so many. Anybody following the rumors or not rumors, but the news and stuff that's going around a little bit that we have, especially in
Yeah,
rugby circles, it's tough times at the moment. And
sure.
I know obviously following you on Twitter, there's a lot of stuff going around, especially in the South African rugby landscape at this stage of the game with players possibly getting out of contracts and stuff like that. This is not why I want to chat to you, but if we can just briefly touch on it and get it out the way. um, how bad is it really?
It's a little bit worse than that. It's really,
Oh,
really
wow.
bad. Yeah, the market is really, really difficult. I think everyone is feeling it because of the salary cuts in South Africa and Australia and pretty much everywhere. The foreign clubs know that everyone's pretty desperate, so coaches will be sitting with, hundreds of CVs per each position. So I even had a coach tell me that he's got 100 CVs. He's going to lowball everyone with offers and see who accepts. So that
Yo.
makes life even more difficult. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, so when people think like, oh, it's I'll just leave and go overseas, it's actually more difficult going overseas now than it is staying here.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, so everything's changed. I think it's gonna be very tough going forward.
Oh, well, okay. No, well, we'll obviously keep an eye out on it. I know there's been a lot of rumors doing the rounds and stuff. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I really hope somewhere some sanity can come in, and then rugby can win at the end of the day, and the players can be happy where they are, or whatever comes their way, works out for them. But back to you. Tell me a bit about your story and from a rugby perspective. Where did your love for the game start? At what age did someone introduce you to the game, or did you walk into the TV room and see something you like? How did it happen?
geez, it's a tough question. I just think with my mates, we used to play Renish in Stellenbosch. You might think it's a girls' school, but in the junior school, it's co-ed. We
Okay.
just used to play rugby on the field during breaks, and like ruin our uniforms. And obviously, I was allowed during the World Cup final in '95, and that's where I really became obsessed with it.
That's cool. And then obviously life progressed. Did you play any rugby after school?
Yeah, I played. Wasn't very good, but I played a bit of rugby. I played for UCT in the first varsity cup.
Oh, wow.
We lost the final in the last second of the game.
Yeah.
Um, I went to the Alan Zondagh's Academy after school. Yeah, so I played all around. Then I played a little bit of sevens, but realized I wasn't good enough, so I stopped. I used the
And
old injury,
then,
the old injury excuse.
yeah. Okay. And then, at what stage did obviously the love for rugby has been there, and it's there's no doubt about that. Seeing where you are today, what did you do before you became an agent?
I wasn't actually too sure what I was going to do with my life. I went into accounting and I was working at an auditing firm, which
Okay.
was probably the most depressing thing in the world. You just sit
Wow.
at a desk all day. I did that for about
Yeah.
6, 7 months. And John Dobson actually helped me out and put in a good word for me with Paul True when he was the Springbok Sevens coach.
Yeah.
So I went to a training camp with them, and yeah, I made the B side to go touring. So when I made that, I just threw it all in and stopped. And then Anthony Johnson actually offered me a job. So yeah, that's how I got into it. And I got injured when I was with the Sevens
Yeah.
side, and when I came back, I asked Anthony Johnson if I could do some temporary work with him. Pretty much made his coffee, and that's pretty where it ended, and did quite well. So I decided to stop rugby and just go full time.
So sorry, I'm obviously not that familiar with the rugby agency world. I'm assuming Anthony Johnson was an agent himself.
Yeah, he still is. He's living in France, probably drinking wine, eating pastries, and watching this.
Oh wow, that's awesome. Tell me, jumping
Yeah.
back again, growing up, who obviously you're a Cape Town boy. I'm gonna take a guess that you're a Western Province supporter, aka Stormers as well. Or am I
Uh,
missing the plot? Yeah.
no, actually, I don't. It's quite difficult to be a fan when you're working in the business, because I don't know. You obviously rep some players that play in teams that you don't really like. I can see Anthony just Anthony just commented. I knew he's watching this.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Anthony.
it's quite difficult. Actually, the first time I met Anthony, when he actually told me you can't be a fan and work in this business, which is
Oh
pretty
wow.
much true. Yeah,
Yeah.
it kind of kills your love for the game a little bit, but it is what it is. So I don't really support it side. I support players more than the actual teams.
Yeah, yeah. I've been noticing, chatting to quite a few people of late, that seems to be the trend, especially when guys are getting older as well. I mean, yeah, you've got a little soft spot for a team maybe, but I mean, it becomes more a thing for where you support players, instead of necessarily a team. Um,
Yeah,
but would it be
but
fair to ask? Would it be fair to ask you if you've got a favorite player, or maybe growing up, did you have a favorite player?
I used to really like Andre Fenter, the flank. He was a machine. And then sort of later on, Joe van Niekerk. So obviously before he started smoking weed 24/7 and living in the forest. But yeah,
Yeah,
those are my
yeah,
two
yeah.
favorite players.
Oh,
Andre
okay.
Fenter and Chester Williams.
Yeah.
Sorry, I also love Chester Williams.
Oh, great. What position did you play, by the way?
Uh, Lock and loose forward, but pretty much just chilled on the wing. I actually played with Carl Lewis, who's a good friend of yours, I think.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. Before the
yeah,
chat, I actually saw he had a few chirps going on
yeah,
Twitter there. So,
yeah. No, he's
yeah,
actually a
Carl
really
is a
good
great
player.
guy. Oh, well, that's good to know. I mean, I actually chatted to Carl I think it was our second episode, third one actually. Saved him from a few hours there from his daughter, which funny enough took over the show at one stage. You should actually go and have a look at it if you get some time.
Yeah, well,
Um, you get being a rugby agent, and now again, it's a bit of a thing that I'm not too familiar with. I know a few guys, but it's something I really want to actually try and understand and get to grips with what the whole rugby agent life is about and stuff. But from the guys that I know they often get to travel as well. And I mean, obviously, most of the time it's probably for work and stuff. But if the Boks seem to travel overseas, and the guys have players in there that they sometimes go and support them overseas. So I'm assuming you've traveled as well.
yeah.
And in that, asking basically, if there's a venue in the world that stands out for you, which one is it and why?
Um, I'm not actually too sure. I like Cardiff quite a lot. Cardiff was great. I've been all around. I think that stands out quite a bit. But I like the home stadiums. I like Newlands, even though it's going to be bulldozed soon. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
okay.
Cardiff stands out for me as quite a good one.
Is
Can't
that
actually
Cardiff?
the atmosphere there is insane.
Are you talking about the old stadium or the new
No, the
one?
new one, Millennium Stadium. Sorry.
Millennium. Oh, okay,
Yeah,
cool. So, I mean, obviously you've been there.
yeah. I've been there a few times. It's
Oh,
really, really
okay.
cool.
What makes it different for you?
Just the atmosphere. The Welsh are insane. They're all borderline alcoholics, but they really make it a good time. Yeah, even if they're winning or losing, it's a good
Yeah,
place to
yeah.
be.
I must say, on TV it always looks great, and I mean them singing and stuff. I think, um, yes, it must be an experience just to experience that vibe alone. Never mind, the rugby itself. And I mean, these days they're quite a good team.
Yeah, very good,
Um,
very good.
I want to get a bit. I want to ask you a little bit about being a rugby agent, if you don't mind. And
Go
I
for
want
it.
to start off by asking you, what does it take to be a decent, let's say, rugby agent? I mean, what does it take to become one?
Um, no soul. I'm trying to think. Thick skin, borderline depression, work ethic, and yeah, mostly work ethic. I know that there are obviously quite a few agents out there, but there are only a handful that I really rate highly. Obviously, that Anthony Johnson is one of them, and then you obviously know Rod Labuskachny and Leon. They're
Yeah,
very good. Yeah, there's a few good ones, but agents all hate each other. It's quite a cutthroat business.
yeah. I can imagine. I mean, you obviously. I think we'll probably get into it a bit, but it's like you say, cutthroat. I mean, the one
Yeah,
wants whatever the other one's got, probably.
yeah,
Um,
pretty much.
which basically, what exactly is the role of a rugby agent?
Technically, we're supposed to all do the same thing. Others might branch out a bit and help with finances, but the main job is to negotiate or source and negotiate employment contracts, making sure that they get the best possible deal out there, and also being involved in the right environment. You know, going to the right team where they're going to progress and improve as players. I know everyone thinks that money is the most important thing, but it's not really the case. Like,
Okay.
if you go to the wrong team, you can just disappear and not progress, and then be unemployed by the time you're
Yeah.
22.
Whoa.
Yeah, so
And
it's
I mean, you've mentioned now that some guys branch out and stuff. But is that just? I mean, do you look after endorsements and stuff as well, or is that
yeah.
something that the player has to do himself?
No, we do commercial deals and endorsements. But the reality is, in rugby, I don't know what people think. There are commercial deals out there, but it's not the primary focus. It's your
Yeah.
employment contract that's going to bring the income. There are one or two, well, there are about 5 players that can bring in like proper money commercially, which is like obviously Sia, Cheslin, Beast in his time, Skulkberger, those type of guys. But it's not a main focus for. It shouldn't be a main focus for rugby players.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
Um,
a kind of a distraction sometimes.
Oh, okay, yeah, I can imagine. I mean, because obviously with endorsements comes a lot of things like appearances and off
Yeah.
the field kind of stuff, which obviously takes a lot of time and the distraction. What is the toughest part of being an agent?
Um. Sure, it's a tough one. There's quite a few. It's being in conflict 24/7. Because if you think about it, we're negotiating contracts with unions, so we're pushing players to earn, or unions to pay the players more. So unions, CEOs, and coaches hate us because they always think we're trying to move away their talent, and then obviously the players get bleak when they don't get what they want. It's kind of difficult to manage their expectations.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's conflict 24/7. And then obviously, I mean, I don't know how much you know about the business, but yeah, players are they can jump around a lot from agent to agent, play people against each other.
oh
So
wow,
the whole
loyalty.
there's not much loyalty in the business. No, you've got to get used to that quite early on. And thankfully, I worked for 2 psychos, one of them being Anthony, and the other guy living in Bath. He was quite a good guy to learn from as well, because a complete cynic.
If you say, it's funny how you say psychos. I mean, what would bring that reference or thing? Why would you say that? Is it just the way they operate?
Yeah, I think it was my first week when I was actually working as a temp guy for Anthony. I was
Yeah.
sitting there, and another agent who's still in the business, so I won't mention his name, sent Ant like a crazy text message saying how he's gonna kill him, and like with
Oh wow.
with hectic language and going mental basically. And I was laughing, thinking it's a joke, like amongst your mates sending those kind of messages. And he was like, no,
Yeah.
this is serious. We gotta take this guy out. It was just like it's hard to explain, but it's
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
very intense.
So it can actually get quite serious.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm
May
sure
I
Leon
ask
and
you one of the stories that you can maybe share? I mean, I know there's some stuff that you probably can't share, but any close encounter, if I can call it that you've had?
Who's the same, Bryce? Now you're keeping doing lockdown with your what's your fitness regime? What an idiot. Sorry, say that again.
No, I'm saying if I can ask you, I know you can't share everything, but any close encounter that you've had, if I can call it that.
With players and stuff.
No, well, with another agent, where you probably
yeah, we get death threats all the time. Usually from the same guy, funny enough.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
Jeez. And how do you handle that? I mean, if it happens the first time, you must probably, sorry for my language, you must probably shit yourself.
No, we usually just laugh quite a bit. I mean, yeah, it's you can't really take it personally, and yeah, but it's. I mean, like I said, the one of the guys that I used to work for, Jason. I mean, once you work for a guy like that, you don't really get intimidated too easily, because he was he was very, very hectic.
Oh wow, okay, that's interesting. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you can, but I mean, who are some of the players that you manage?
Geez, we've got tons. I mean, our agency rep, quite a few players. I mean, one of them just actually commented. I'm actually taking quite a bit of heat for him as well at the moment. Sintu Manjezi, the lock from the Cheetahs.
Oh yes, his name has been in the news at the moment.
Yeah, he's giving me grief nonstop. Just
kidding. Really?
Yeah, I'm glad he's laughing about that. But no, he's a great guy. I've got to say that because he's online.
So I mean,
we've got tons of guys in our agency. I mean, with our agency, we all manage each other's clients. So it's not like I rep a certain player and Anthony reps this player, and Bryce who works with us as well. It's everyone works for everyone. There's no sort of ego, which I think is a good thing.
Oh, okay. And I don't know. This is obviously a friend of yours.
Who's Salom?
Yeah.
Yeah. Salom, he actually didn't represent him, so it's funny that he's commenting here. He Cincy, what a boy. Salom used to play for the Lions and the Pumas. I don't know if you remember him.
I don't recall the name right off the cuff. I'm a bit of a, as you probably can see, I'm a bit of a Bull supporter. So tend to get, I must say, when you support one team, you sort of, the others are just a bit of a vague, they come into focus when you play them. But there was something I wanted to ask you. I forgot now, but I mean, how many Springboks current Springboks have you guys got?
I mean, we've got quite a few at the World Cup final. We had Cheslin Colby and Mapimpi Drex.
Oh, awesome!
Luckily, so they had 2 try scorers, which was really cool. Things change all the time. I mean, we've got Cornel Hendricks. We've got quite a few other internationals like Hugh Jones and Josh Strauss involved as well. So it's all over really.
That's really cool. I mean, what is it like when you're watching a World Cup final? And as you just mentioned, your 2 guys scored tries. I mean, do you as an agent actually get excited? Does the fan come back?
No, we definitely do. Yeah, like briefly for like 10 minutes, we get excited with the guys. So it is cool.
That's our guy. That's our guy.
It's cool to see something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I don't know if you watched that show yesterday, but I mean, that was really spectacular. The way the guys just took us through what happened in that final, it was awesome.
I didn't see that. My friend ordered it, so I'll go check it out later.
Oh yeah, you must definitely. But just make sure you've got about 3 hours of your life to to put aside. It's not your regular 1 hour insert. It's a proper good meaty 3 hours. That's I tell you what. I was thinking about it this morning, and I was actually asking the question on Twitter. Just saying. I don't know, after watching that, if it's like, the euphoria and everything, if it was bigger yesterday than the actual day of the final, or, after winning it, because it was just such a different perspective, getting the insights from the players and how everything just evolved. And yes, it's really, it's something that you have to watch if you can.
Was that all Russie's, the videos that Russie's been uploading to Twitter?
Yeah, that has been really awesome.
Yeah, it's been very, very cool.
And I don't know, I mean, you might have seen as well that they're actually going to do a 6-part documentary series where I think we're going to see a lot of those clips from Rassie, leading up to the World Cup and also during
Wow.
the World Cup, which is, I think it's just going to be phenomenal. I mean, what we saw yesterday, I think was beyond world class.
Yeah.
And if that was anything to set the bar, I mean, this 6-part documentary it's called Chasing the Sun. It's going to be next level. I tell you now, it's going to be really something that I don't think anybody has ever expected. And just getting that inside info, how much it's going to affect Russia, I don't think so. But it's just going to be awesome to get a different perspective. I think one of the things that was nice yesterday was you could actually hear what Russia was saying during the final. I don't know how they got that audio, but somehow they got the audio of
Oh, wow.
Rassie sitting in the box and saying, giving instructions to the field. And, when Mapimpi carried the ball and Kyle Sinclair got injured, where he
Yeah.
actually sent down a message to Jacques Nienaber, the current Bok coach, to tell him, go tell Mapimpi, that was a great carry. Just to,
Oh, that's
just
cool.
encourage the guys. I mean, it's just amazing. It's unheard of. Maybe in American sports they've seen this, but I think from a South African perspective, the bar has been raised completely. If there's
It's
one
just,
player that you can sign,
no, you can't ask me this. No, geez.
I want to ask you that.
No ways. That is because I'm probably trying to sign him, and then it's gonna leave.
Oh, okay. No. I thought I'll push my luck.
No.
Because,
Yeah, it's quite a tough time at the moment. I don't know who the one client was, and if I say someone, all my clients will fire me. So I'm not. It's not
yeah,
them.
okay. I should have probably thought of that. Sorry about that.
No, that's good.
But I have to try. Yeah, that's not. And how long have you been an agent now?
Since 2000. Jeez, when is it? 2000. I think 2009. Yeah, 2009.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
And I mean, if you could do something else in life, what would it be?
anything. Geez, I don't know. I think I don't know. You need to be a certain type of person to do this business, and I think it's
Really?
I kind of ask myself this all the time. So I'm not too sure what else I'd do. Probably prostitution or something along those lines.
I love your honesty. That's really, really awesome. No, and listen, there's no holds barred here, so don't stress. And
Okay, cool.
yeah. Is there any stories that you can share with us? I mean, over the years that you've had with your, with your players, maybe moments that you've shared. I mean, obviously you've met so many well-known people that a lot of us general oaks on the street would just give anything to meet. I mean, and you literally sit with a phone that is full of famous rugby players, basically from around the world.
I'll tell you one story, but I can't tell you his name, but it springs to mind. The quality player, and a few years ago, we had a meeting with him, and we had to talk about him calming down on the party life, because he was known as a bit of a party animal, and the coach was getting quite bleak with him, and I had to meet with him for coffee and had this talk, and I said, listen, you've got to cut it down, you're going to ruin your career or whatever. And he was like, no, I appreciate you saying this, I'm going to change and all this. And while I was driving home, I was thinking, this is what the business is about, like helping people mature. And the next morning I woke up and he's like, can you please come pick me up from the police station?
Oh, wow.
So he was the unluckiest person. If he did anything wrong, he'd be caught for it. It was quite a funny guy.
Oh, jeez.
We've had Anthony, I mean, we've had crazy stuff going on, like, just crazy. I can't tell because it'll be quite easy to link up the names. But one of Anthony's clients a few years ago sent a naked picture of himself to. I don't even know if I can say this. Anthony, comments if I can't say the story.
Now or never, Anthony, please.
Yeah. He sent a naked picture of himself to a girl, or I hope a girl. And she started, whoever it was, started blackmailing him, and he had to. Okay, no, I can't say that. No, they'll never find out who it is.
Okay, let's stop it there. It's fine.
that was a funny story. And probably getting a call from him.
Tell me, would you say being a rugby agent is a long-term job? Is it something that will last?
Like it's a really romantic idea. I mean, like I said, all agents had each other, but our business is quite close. And then obviously I'm friends with Rod, who mentioned, and we often joke about it because it looks really cool from the outside. Like you're saying now, you hang out with, all these cool guys and stuff like that. But it really is cutthroat. It's like soul destroying.
Wow.
So I think some people have been in it for a long time. I mean, Anthony's been in it for like, I think 20 years. So he's old as fuck right now. And he survived it.
Gonna get a comment.
There's three or four agents that have survived the test of time, and then there's loads that come in and out, and come in with that whole Jerry Maguire mentality and leave like 2 weeks later shattered and crying.
Wow.
But it's I'm trying to think who the oldest agent is. I can't really think right now. But there's not many guys that stick around for the long time, long distance.
And just out of interest, I mean, you've obviously got international clients. I mean, even though you're based in South Africa, you've got players from around the world. And I mean, how does someone? I mean, there's no disrespect to us in South Africa, but I mean, how does a guy in South Africa basically get a top player in New Zealand?
It's quite tricky. We don't actually represent any New Zealand, or we have in the past.
I'm just using it as an example. You can pick any country.
But, so we got Anthony based in France now. So he picks up quite a few. I mean, he represents quite a handful of French players, and we spend a lot of time going backwards and forwards. But usually we sign players in South Africa, and we send them overseas and manage them from here, and we just travel quite a bit. I mean, like. That's pretty much how we do it. And then we've got partners all around the world. We've got a Japanese partner. We just link up with their agencies. So if we send a player to Japan, there's someone's managed on that side at least, someone hands on.
The
same goes for England.
Now that you've mentioned France and Japan and all that stuff, is that the only future for rugby in this country, to get guys to go overseas? Is it just because of the I won't say the economic situation, because at the moment the economy is basically nowhere, and I mean the money isn't really in South Africa. So, but is that the ultimate solution? How much is agents playing a part in keeping players in South Africa?
It's tricky because the agents are always like it's the easy target to like blame someone. If someone goes overseas, it's easy to say agents chasing money. I mean, we had this situation like a day or two ago with your team, the Bulls, actually chasing a player, and he was going overseas, and they came back and said that don't let the agent bully you. But rugby is a short-term thing. It's not, you can't do it your whole life, and you need to earn as much as possible to look after your family post rugby. So I'm not saying it's the be-all and end-all to go overseas, but if you weigh up the pros and cons, it's really difficult to survive in South Africa on a salary here and put something away. The expenses like medical aid, agent fees, all those sort of things add up quite a lot. So it's difficult to save. Whereas France, you can save quite a bit. The tax is lower, medical's better, all those sort of things. Japan's great because the rugby's a lot slower and less games per year. You can prolong your career. But at the same time, you've got to pick and choose your time when to go to Japan, because if you go as a youngster, it's quite difficult to move on from there, unless you're a freak show like Malcolm, where I mean he could go play in Mexico and someone would sign him afterwards. But it's usually guys that go to Japan towards the tail end of their career. You don't see a lot of guys going from Japan to England or back to Super Rugby, or not often at least. So every market's got their pros and cons. Like in France, for example, the language is really, really difficult. Only a few people really like thrive. Cheslin's obviously done really, really well.
Yes.
Jody Jenniker's been there for centuries. But then at the same time, some guys go there and absolutely hate it and want to come back. So it's tricky. I mean, So it's not. What I'm trying to say is not all about money. You gotta wait, like with families and stuff like that. You can adjust and you can say.
Yeah. And tell me, Dane, when does I don't know how to actually structure the question, but when does the agent's role basically come to an end? Is it at the end of a player's career, or is there still an involvement after a player stops playing rugby?
No, there's always. It's basically a relationship game. It's like Stephen Sykes. Anthony repped Stephen his whole career, and I mean Stephen retired I think 2-3 years ago, and he's still contacting us all the time, and asking us for contacts and stuff like that. So it doesn't really end. It carries on. I mean, guys usually stay in the industry, or I mean, it just carries on really. A lot of guys towards the tail end of their career think that they don't need an agent anymore, and because they want to save as much money and not pay fees, or that sort of thing. But it pretty much carries on until the end.
And how do guys like that actually? How does it work out for guys like that decide, I'm going to do this on my own? I don't need an agent. Does it work out for them or not really?
It can work out for some, but not more often than not. It's quite difficult because, I mean, you've heard that phrase: show someone that represents himself, and I'll show you a fool for a client, or the legal phrase. I mean, maybe I've mixed that up, but it's difficult because getting a good deal is all about leverage. So you've got to find out what else is out there. If you spend the first 2 years of your career somewhere like the Bulls or the Stormers, and the CEO comes to you and says, like, I want to extend your contract, how do you know what other players are earning, what the market is like, what if you're being underpaid, if you're being overpaid, or so you need someone to have that knowledge and guide you through your career. It's also very difficult to I mean, I'm not going to mention the union, but there's a CEO that pulls guys aside. It's very difficult for a player, be it 21, 25 years old, to say no to a CEO who's like pulling him into signing a contract. So I think it's vital that you have someone with that knowledge and who's not going to take advantage of you, obviously, who you trust, and who will be that barrier between being bullied around.
Now I want to ask you something from a young player's perspective, someone that's just, I mean, I know there's ways and means and there's rules around, at what age players are allowed to be signed and stuff like that. But I mean, irrespective of that, how does a young up-and-coming player, regardless of whether he's good or not, I mean, let's say someone watches this one day and they see, they see this and they want to get hold of an agent. I mean, how does an agent decide that they are interested in someone?
I think every agency is run differently. It's a tricky question. Every agency is run differently. You get certain agents focus on the youngsters, the groups. So they'll do what you call a blanket theory. They'll sign as many guys as possible, and then just hope to God that like a few of them come through. And then some guys will get mismanaged or don't get the credit, the attention that they deserve to take that next step. We don't actually focus on youngsters too often. I mean, we sign the one or two exceptional youngsters, but I think it's just my opinion. I could be wrong. I mean, I've been proven wrong before, but I don't think a 17-year-old or a 16-year-old or an 18-year-old actually needs an agent. Maybe 18, 19, just as advice. But I think signing like 15, 16-year-olds is a joke. I mean, what is he going to do? What does he need an agent for? It's an ego thing to say, oh, I've got an agent, or I'll call my agent, or they really don't need one at that time. And that's what we tell youngsters when they call, because we do get it a lot.
So at what stage, I mean, okay, I know you guys don't focus on the youngsters, but at what stage would you recommend a player maybe start looking at an agency or an agent? Sorry, I don't want to use the word agency, but I don't think there's an age for it. It depends on the player, because you get some guys that are being tapped up by clubs overseas at the age of 16, 17, and until someone got fired and investigated recently. I mean, there were youngsters at 15-year-olds getting tapped up for your team. So so I don't think they should sign with an agent, but I think they should definitely seek advice. So like someone there's no conflict of interest, who can actually tell you what the different franchises or clubs are like, where you're not going to be stockpiled. You're going to be one of 30 players in that position, and they just want to hoard all the talent in the same union, if that makes sense. Yeah.
So sorry, I think I might have deviated there, but as a youngster, I think it's just vital to get advice from someone that's got experience, as opposed to just like, it's not a bad thing listening to your parents, but they often don't know which is the best place to go. I mean, if you support the Lions, you're going to say, yeah, go to the Lions, the best union. But you don't really know what. Just using that as an example before Anthony comments. So there's a lot of things that go into it. It's not as easy as just saying, I'll go here, sign this contract, earn this amount. So I definitely deviated there, but you know what I mean.
No. It's cool. I want to ask you one more question. Might be a tough one, and obviously you're more than welcome to say if you don't want to answer it. But what would you say are the warning signs that a youngster should look out for when any agent? I mean, because there's so many of them, and like you just said, there's guys that go out and they just sign hordes of guys and then hope that someone comes off. What would you say are the warning signs for parents and even youngsters to look out for? I mean, because if you want to get signed by an agent, you want to obviously get signed by someone that's reputable, that's
Yeah.
trustworthy, that's not just looking out for. And please, I'm saying this with all due respect, but that's got the interest of the player at heart and not their own.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. There are, I mean, like I keep on saying, all agents hate each other, but there are
Yeah.
a handful of good ones that like I might hate, but rate them in their jobs. I mean, each
Mm.
agent's got strengths and weaknesses. That's why, like Anthony and I work quite well together because we're such opposites. We really are. We really are opposites in every way. So when I struggle with something, and comes on and sort of slaps me around and shows me the way. So, but back to your question, a lot of guys overpromise.
Yeah.
Like a lot of guys overpromise, and that should be the first. That should be the first alarm bells when someone comes up to a 17-year-old kid saying they're going to be like, he can organize them getting into the SA under 20 team, because guys do
Okay.
that and they sell cars. Or he's going to organize a sponsored car or sponsor with Adidas and Puma. You don't want to sign with guys that overpromise because they always underdeliver. Rather, like even when I sign players, I usually suggest for them to meet all the other agents and see who they've got a sort of relationship with, or who they connect with and who they think they can trust throughout their career. Because the worst thing is getting a player that's been promised something and then he jumps around thinking that he's being underserviced. The reality is that there's no commercial deals. You're not going to be on billboards, or there's 2 or 3 guys that's going to be on billboards. So when
Yeah.
agents need to school kids and tell them that they're going to do all these magical things for them, it's just not true.
Then you should be running.
Yeah, you should be running over promises. That's the big thing. Over promises.
Okay.
Sorry, my phone's going off.
No, don't stress.
But yeah, there are a few good agencies out there. There are a handful. I wish I could name the ones to stay clear of, but I won't.
Yeah. I was just thinking of how could I ask you which one, but let's rather not do that. I mean, at the end of the day, we're not here to badmouth anybody or anything. I mean,
Yeah.
I think to get a bit of perspective, because I think something you've mentioned, it's not all. I like the term that you use. It's not a romantic. What that thing that you said about it. It's you got to be.
Have
I
you
think
seen
at the
Jerry
end of the
Maguire?
day,
I'll give you an example. Have you seen Jerry Maguire? Obviously, the
yeah.
So everyone thinks that like the agency business is like Jerry Maguire, but there's a point in that business that the agency business is actually like, is when the father says my word is like oak, and then he thinks
Yeah.
he's got this #1 draft pick and he's all sorted and he's walking around, and then the player signs with another agent. And that feeling of like defeat, or where like the guy's life is falling apart and he's got to start from scratch again. That is the everyday business, because we often do deals for players and then at the last minute they change their mind, or they want to come home after you've negotiated a long-term contract, or so it's constant like letdowns.
Sure. And just something that I've just thought of now, back on the youngsters. And I know you guys don't work with the youngsters really, but I'm sure you've had experience. But at what stage, when an agent gets involved, does the parent have to stand back?
It's just a tough one. It's different. Every person's different. You get some parents that want to like be completely out of it, and then you get other parents that want feedback every single day on what number their son is in the pecking order, or what's happening, why is he not earning as much as so and so. I don't think there's a right answer for that. Everyone's different. You just got to you just got to manage it, I guess. Everyone's different, and some people need their fathers or parents' input, like support, but at the same time, like, I don't want to mention his name in case he's watching, but you remember Johan Sadi, and his dad was very, very involved, and he was doing really well at Stormers or Province at the time, and then he moved to the Bulls, and he obviously
Yes.
he never really hit his ceiling because, I mean, I think his father was really, really involved, and it actually hampered his
Oh
career.
wow. Yeah. Shame, man. That's quite. I mean, is he? I don't know if you know, but is he still playing? I think the last I heard of, he was overseas, but I don't know if he's
Yeah,
still playing.
I think he's in France, if I'm not mistaken. He could be at Brive, or the last I saw. But I mean, I shouldn't have used his name, but I mean, he's just a
Oh,
good example because
yeah,
at the
yeah.
time when he was at the Stormers, there was like expectation that he'd be a Springbok,
Yes.
and he was like 20 years
Yes.
old, and like his father, I think, got convinced that he should leave when he should have stayed here under
Yeah.
Jean de Villiers and Jacques Fourie. I mean, it would have been Agen. Sorry, Agen. He's at Agen now.
Yeah. Okay. No, no, no. I mean, I think everybody recalls, unfortunately, the dip that he took when he went to the Bulls. I think it was a very exciting time, but it just
Yeah,
didn't come to fruition. And then I think after that, he went to the Free State, and then that was the end of that, basically. Then he went overseas.
yeah,
But it feels like ages ago. That's why I just wanted to find out if you know if he's still playing. Because, I mean, yeah, he was a hell of a prospect when he was at the Stormers.
yeah. He's a good player, but
Playing, yeah.
a lot of guys don't make it because they go to the wrong team or coached by like it's different to link up with a coach that actually backs you. If you've got a coach that backs you, even if you're not that good a player, you can still make it all the way. If you
But
get lucky.
where does the agent then come in to tell that player, listen, I think you're making a mistake?
Well, we do it all the time, every single day.
And then it's up to the player to say yay or nay.
Yeah, we tell the player that we give him all the pros and cons. I mean, everyone's different.
Yeah.
Like Dobbo, for an example, is big into team environment and culture. Like that's his main
Yeah.
focus. So he creates like a really, really good set like culture at the Stormers, or back in the day it was UCT. And then it gets to the point where guys don't want to leave province because they really enjoy the setup here.
Yes.
And then you get other coaches that are more technical that don't have the people skills. They won't speak to the player. They'll just they pick him on the weekend. There's no sort of relationship between the player and coach. So you got to sort of figure out what the player will respond to better.
Yeah. And how does
Opinion.
the landscape? I don't know if it's the right word, but how does the landscape change with a guy like Jake White coming in suddenly, to the Bulls? I mean, does that open the market again or close the market? I'm asking hard questions. Sorry.
No, it's Jake's. I get on well with Jake. I like him. I know he rubs a lot of people up the wrong way, but
Yeah.
he definitely has disrupted the market quite a bit.
Okay.
In the sense that he's a lot of changes are coming to the Bulls. I mean,
Yeah.
he's inherited he wants to make a lot of changes. He's inherited a team that he wouldn't have assembled if he was there. So there's obviously, you saw Alphonse has resigned. So
Yes.
there's a lot of changes going on at the Bulls.
Yeah.
I mean they've gone through quite a bit the last few years, obviously with the whole Zander situation. But I think they were onto something special with a few years ago with John Mitchell, and they had really quality players there.
Yes.
So so it's quite difficult there.
I must say I'm quite excited with Jake coming over. I think I think he's got a proper rugby brain, and I think he knows what he's doing. So, I mean, in all fairness, I have heard some of the names and stuff, but I mean, let it be there.
Who's being linked? Who's being linked to the Bulls?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's going to be interesting times. I think a lot of eyes are going to be raised if and when it starts happening. I know there's a lot of almost said lockdown stuff going on. I mean, we are in a lockdown, but I mean, players that are being banned from, or coaches are not allowed to do negotiations and stuff. So I don't know when that's going to open up again. But at the end of the
that all
day,
happens. That all happens. I mean, I know it's rules, and I shouldn't be saying this, but like, you can't stop a player from talking to a coach outside the transfer window. So even while they say there's nothing going on at the moment, people are still moving. Business is still as usual. I mean, like, it's no these players are being linked with certain unions now. No one's supposed to be offering any sort of contracts.
Yeah, but it is happening regardless.
Well, apparently it's happening. I don't know. There's
I mean, at the end of
hypothetical.
Yeah. It's like anything in life. I mean, as they say, rules are there to be broken.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, what's the worst that can happen with someone that, I don't know, do they get fined or?
Yeah, you can get into. I'm actually getting into trouble at the moment. You can get into quite a lot of trouble negotiating outside the transfer window. It's
Okay.
yeah, you obviously know about this new 21-day window where players can go
Yeah.
overseas for the next 21 days. So now it's just sort of free fall. Everyone can negotiate as long as it's overseas and not local.
Well, I hope you guys leave us a few players here in South Africa once you're done with
But
everything. That
no, but I don't think a lot of guys will leave. Not because they don't want to, just because there's not that many teams looking.
yeah,
But I mentioned earlier, I mean, the market really is buggered, and the problem is that those clubs overseas know that South Africans want to leave and they've got 21 days, so they'll send you offers that usually you would turn down, but now obviously it's looking very appealing because you're taking a 43% pay cut.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's really really tricky. There's not that many deals overseas at the moment.
Yeah. Anyway, Dane, I'm not going to ask you too many. I'm not going to ask you any more tough questions and stuff. I mean, just the fact that you've offered up some time and you were willing to chat to us. I mean, that's really, really awesome. I think this chat was completely different to what it normally was. But I mean, I think the insights that you've given has been really awesome, and I thank you for your time. And
No,
I
thank
mean,
you.
all the guys that have been sharing comments and stuff. Clearly your agency has been keeping an eye on you and what you're saying. So
making sure I'm not saying anything too bad. Yeah.
yeah,
Jeez, I
yeah,
hope.
yeah. So hopefully you don't get a rough call after this or something. But I mean,
Yeah.
thanks to Eddie. Thanks for them allowing you to do this, and yeah, I really really appreciate your time. It's been great.
No, thanks for
Yeah,
having me on.
it's nice getting to know guys like you and actually understanding what you're doing. I think that's the big thing. I think a lot of people have a misconception of what goes on behind the scenes, and sometimes that also makes the situation so much worse. And like you
Yeah.
mentioned earlier, sometimes the agent gets hauled over the coals for something that he wasn't even part of.
All the
So
time, not sometimes. All the time.
all the
We
time.
we got the worst rep. What's
Oh
that? Is
wow,
that a
wow.
is that a Bulls jersey from like 1833 in the background there? What's
Yeah, that jersey there was the first Super 12 game the Bulls played that in that tournament when it changed to the Super 12.
I remember that? Jeez.
Um, I think I can't remember the year though, but yeah, that was. I just know that jersey comes out of that game. It was actually one of the players' jerseys, and
Which player?
so it's got Joos van der Westhuizen's signature on it. But in all honesty, there's a number 5 on the back of that jersey. So I was very fortunate that my mother's cousin was a very well-known pharmacist in Pretoria who actually had a pharmacy right across the road from Loftus, and so he obviously dealt with a lot of players. And then I can't remember the player's name offhand now, but he gave this jersey to him. And then when my folks went to visit him one day, he obviously found I'm a staunch Bulls supporter, and gave that to them to give to me as a gift. And then I got to meet Joost when he was ill. That is actually one of the last self-handwritten signatures that Joost did. So
That's okay.
I'm very, very, that's jersey is quite dear to me. Out of all the stuff that I do have,
I can
yeah.
imagine.
Anyway,
Who's your favorite player before you go? Just to put you on the spot so you can see.
sorry,
Who's your favorite player? Just to put you on the spot before I go.
yo, at the
Who
moment, I'm an old school guy. At the moment, there's a few players that stand out for me. I like Dwayne quite a lot. Cheslin I'm a hell of a fan of Cheslin at the moment. I think I would love to see him come back to South Africa, although I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. But I mean, geez, I'm actually, yes, this lockdown has really stuffed things up. I mean, I was looking so forward to, the Springbok season to come on now. And I mean, I don't think we're going to be seeing it. Hopefully at the end of the year, we might see something, but I don't know. And it's just weak to think we're the world champions and we can't even watch our guys play. But
still
there are guys
unbeaten?
like Cheslin. Sorry?
Unbeaten. Still unbeaten.
Yeah,
Look at
well,
the record.
I actually thought about it the other day. Imagine going through 2020 unbeaten. But I mean, all the teams can then say that. Even Italy.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a good point. It's probably been
yeah,
their
so
best year.
yeah, but I mean, and someone else that I mean, there's guys that are just crawling under your skin at the moment. That I mean, even Mapimpi is another guy. I had a chat to someone the other day, and And it was so nice to hear someone else seeing something that I noticed over the, since the World Cup, especially, and now during the little bit of Super Rugby we saw. It's just the way that, when he runs, he doesn't look like he runs fast, but he actually moves at a hell of a pace.
He's
And
lightning.
it's just amazing to see, that it looks like he runs slow, but when you see guys chasing him, then you actually understand how fast he is. And then when I made the comparison with like a guy like Courtnall Scorson, when he runs, his legs are going like crazy. You can actually see he's trying to run fast, and he does run fast. But then you see him trying to chase a guy down like Mapimpi, who's literally just taking strides, and it looks like he's jogging away from him. So yeah, I mean, there's a few guys that are coming up, but back in the day, I've always had a soft spot for fly-offs. I think a lot of people do, because they just tend to be the pivot and the main guy that scores all the points. But when my life started as someone that understands rugby, Nas Botha was my ultimate favorite player, and then I became a big fan of Derek Hougaard, who I'm actually chatting to on Thursday.
I saw that.
Yeah, so I am super stoked to have him on the show. Hopefully he doesn't watch and run away now, knowing that I'm actually a hell of a big fan. Yeah. But and I must say, I think Andre is an amazing player. I think, just watching yesterday again, or, the reruns of some of the World Cup matches, and from where he's come, I think, it's amazing, how his career has spanned out. And I saw there was an article 2 days ago saying, he's the top earner in the world at the moment, which is, I mean, that is just unheard of, the kind of money. But I mean, well done to guys like that. I think the hard work has been put in, and it's hopefully we can see guys like him and Cheslin, go on for quite a number of years still, because I think with the way Springbok rugby is now, we need guys like that to stick around for a while. And
they're both young.
Yeah, that's the thing. So hopefully the overseas market doesn't take them away completely, because that would just be a very big loss for South Africa as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, you guys you've got Gio Upland coming back. I don't know if that's been announced yet.
Yeah. I know that has been pretty much confirmed that I've heard of. So that's going to be exciting to see him play, because he's been good, even if he's old. I mean, he still looks
brilliant.
Like he's got a lot of.
No, he's brilliant.
Is he one of your players?
No, unfortunately not. No, but he's a class player. I've always been a big fan of his.
It's just amazing how the Bulls somehow get all the Stormers guys. I don't know why but it's like the Sharks and the Cheetahs. It seems to be, it's like these funny connections across the board all around. But I'm sure that's where you guys play a role at the end of the day. I'm convinced, knowing. Having known Leon and Rod a while now, I know Leon a bit better than Rod. And I've asked him a few questions, like, why are these guys all going to the Sharks suddenly, or what? Because I know a lot of these players, guys that they have, under their agency. So
it definitely plays a role. I mean, if you're close with, I mean, I'm not going to lie and say no, it doesn't. But it's not the deciding factor. I mean, you're not going to recruit just for a union. I mean, you want the player to do well and progress. You're not going to send them somewhere just because your mate coach is there or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, I should throw Rod under the bus. I should actually just lie and say no, he's basically on the payroll.
Oh well, you know what? I can't believe you actually, because I check all Rod's players are at the Sharks, so it's fine. Anyway, I actually feel sorry for the Sharks that they probably can't carry their season through, because they're unbelievable. As much as I'm very anti-Shark supporter, you've got to take your hat off. They have an unbelievable team, and it was interesting. I mean, I think pre-season, seeing them all get together, you kind of like, it's easy to get all these guys together, but to get them to gel is one thing. And when we saw them gelling, it was a very nice sight from a rugby perspective. So I really feel sorry for them, that they won't be able to see where they would have ended, because I don't think Super Rugby is going to happen.
They're keeping all their players though, so they'll still be. I mean, hopefully, as far as I know, they are. So they'll still be, if not stronger. They've got some really, really good youngsters coming through as well. It's not good for you, but I mean, the Sharks will be as impressive next year, I think.
It's okay. I think Jake's gonna turn the ship around, and we're gonna if we get a Curry Cup this year, we'll win it, and next year we'll win our 4th Super Rugby.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a very brave comment. Luckily,
Yeah.
I'm a nobody, so nobody has to take my word for it. But if it comes true, then I can brag about it, and I've got it on camera anyway.
You
But
turned the
Dane,
Brumbies
thanks
around.
so much, man. Yes, I appreciate your time.
No problem. Yeah, good luck, and thanks very much for having me on.
Yeah. Hopefully it wasn't too bad, and
No,
hopefully, what's his name, Anthony, and they won't give you too much stick about it. And I see Salam, and the guys are still going at it. Yeah. So anyway, thanks guys for joining
thanks,
us,
man.
and thanks for all the comments and stuff. And yeah, Dane, thanks so much for joining us again.
Sorry, I'm only reading the comments now. I'll reply to them now. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Give them stick. Thanks so
All
much
right.
again.
Cheers,
Stay
bro. Have a
safe.
good one. Bye.